Toyota Championship. Had a lot of questions and comments about that. I forget sometimes that, I forget sometimes that I do this YouTube thing, and that I guess my mindset might be a little bit different than some. And then some people were just kind of asking what happened. I didn't really think too much about it when it was going on until later, and then I realized, I just saw the comments and questions. So let's go over it real quick. I'm actually going to show a lot of the footage, or some footage in here about it, because I did make a video as soon as the tournament was over about I didn't think about it like day one and stuff like that. And day two, I was kind of going through. I don't know. Let's just get into it. But I am putting some footage in here about what my mindset was and what happened even after the event. But here's the deal. First off, just to give you all a little idea, and I know this is probably going to be very hard for a lot of people to understand. I get that. Listen, I have a fairly open mind when it comes to why people do what they do. I know not everyone's situation is the same. I know not everyone thinks the same. So I'm just going to let y'all dive into my head a little bit. I've been doing this for a really, really, really long time. What you see on the professional side, right? Like the very professional side, they have like so many events, and they're kind of required to do a certain thing, right? They're required to go across stage, do all this, right? All these different things. They're only fishing 9 events a year. Okay? 9, 10, something like that. I'm not even sure. For me, at one point in time, for probably 10 years, I was averaging 42 to 45 events a year. A lot of those were 2-day events or 3-day events. So I might be having to go across a stage or something 50, 55 times a year. Going across a stage to me is nothing. It's not a thrill of mine. It's not something, maybe going across the classic. I'd take that back. Going across when I was FLW Cup, going on stage like that was a pretty big deal. Other than that, I'm just up there to weigh in fish. That's really all I'm doing. It's just weighing in fish. Okay. So after fishing, I don't know. I need to put a number on this one time, maybe 600 tournaments in my lifetime. Maybe more than that. Way more than that. It's just weighing in fish. It's just another tournament, guys. It really is to me. I made the top 10 the last 2 years. I didn't do very good at this one. I didn't do very good on day one. So I had 2 fish but they were both like 2.5 pound. Smallmouth. I knew I had 5 pounds, give or take a couple ounces, maybe less, maybe more, but nowhere in the vicinity of even thinking I did any good. Now, I went to the weigh-in, parked the boat. My co-angler didn't have any, so he didn't really have to weigh in. So I went up there. I had to give they had a tracker for me because I was Angler of the Year. So Jody White had given me a tracker. I had to give that back. And I looked at the weigh-in line. And the weigh-in line and the bag line was crazy long because we have so many people there. And I'm sitting there going, okay. I looked at the results real quick. I was about 70. So 50-something guys had weighed in. And I'll be honest, they caught them a little bit better than I thought they were. Not the weight-wise, but the amount of limits. So I started seeing all this 10, 11 pounds. I saw 15 pounds was winning, which was okay. And then I saw these like 10 to 11 pounds. When I saw a bunch of those, and I didn't see a lot of guys, there was just enough guys with 10 to 11 pounds. And it was semi-early. And I was going, I can do the math. I've fished so many of these that I've done the math. I just know how it all works out. I'm just telling you. Like, you do enough of them. This isn't even rocket science for me. I mean, I picked it up like that. I looked at it and I'm like, I'm not weighing these in. I don't think I have a shot. I don't even have a shot probably to even make a check. Guys, that's why I'm there. It's not to walk across on stage or to weigh in 2 fish. I've done that 600 times. I'm there to make a check and make a top 10. That's my goal. None of it has to do with weighing in. And I kind of said this the other day. If my sponsors are worried about me walking across the stage for 10 seconds, man, I'll be honest, my sponsors have their priorities in the wrong place. And I don't even mind saying that because, I mean, nothing comes from you walking across stage like that for 10 seconds. I'll be honest with you. So, or I don't believe so. And I think my sponsors well enough know that as well. So I wasn't going to sit there and go across stage with 2 fish, knowing I'm probably not going to get a check. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. What about the next day? Well, like I said, I've done the math on this. I kind of had a feeling what I would have to catch the next day to even come close to a check. 15 pounds was leading. I know if I catch 15 pounds, that's not going to get me a check. So now I have to go above that. And I'm like, man, okay, well, 17? And I'm like, 17 gives me like 22. But I saw enough 10 to 11 pound bags. And I'm like, so now we're at least at 17, maybe. And then I'm like, okay, so I might have to get 20. Well, I hadn't seen 20 pounds in practice. I hadn't seen anything close to that would think I would get this 20-pound bag, and that I knew of a way to do that. Like I could possibly go out there and no, I just didn't. I didn't. A lot of times there's a backup or something that like you can swing for the fences or something like that. I didn't know of that. I didn't know of anything. And there's a reason I didn't know of anything. Fast forward, 17 pounds was leading the event after day 1. It was the biggest bag of the entire event for 3 days. I mean, the difference between 17 and 20 at that point, when 17 is the biggest bag for 3 days, is massive. It's just not going to happen. And I kind of knew that. I'm a realist. So I didn't catch them. Day 2, I was like, oh, I'm going to go out there. And what I did was different. I was running up the lake and I spent some gas on day 1 and did all that stuff. I never really practiced kind of by takeoff. I had a feeling, I kind of kept on finding more of my fish. I was going to go down there and practice. And I went down there just for a little bit and I didn't like it. I got close to down there. But it seemed like all my fish were up the other way. So I was going, I'm not going to go down there. Which is crazy because the last time I was there when I made a top 10, I fished all down there. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go out there and just go fishing. And just go practice fish. And really it was just a day for me to go practice and kind of do something totally different. I got tired of fishing everywhere where I was in practice. And I was like, it's just going to open up my mind to like just be really, really free on the second day. So I went out there and I started on this one spot where I'd not caught him before, but I've had a smallmouth bite. There was a guy kind of close, so I went out fishing other stuff. Guys, I had a limit. I had a limit by 9 o'clock. And I was going, what do you do now? Shoot. So I kind of went and tried to catch a giant bag just to do it. I had nothing to do for the tournament. I had nothing to do for like trying to get a check. It wasn't that. It was just for me. My own stuff. I was trying to go to kind of let myself know that like, hey, you know what? You were doing the right thing. You had a bad day. And so I ended up, it got a lot tougher after that. And I ended up losing one big one in a tree. I mean, it was like that far underneath the water. Here's a clip of it. Even then, because my co-angler felt bad about, he was like trying to get the net and stuff. I'm like, dude, even if we'd have landed a 4-pounder, I still wouldn't have weighed in. I wasn't going to do anything. So we get done, and in my head, you got to realize too, in all these tournaments with my family now, my daughter has games and my son has games all the time, and she had 3 games that weekend. So I'd already had all my stuff packed just in case to get on the road, try to make it home by 12 or 1 in the morning, so I could wake up, drive 3 hours to Dallas, and go to a tournament, a soccer tournament. So, I mean, I already had that mindset. So, yeah, I was like, it doesn't matter whether or not I weigh in or not, because I don't think I'm going to get a check. I'm not even going to probably come close to getting a check. There's no reason to weigh in. So, like I said, the second day was just more for me. My guy on day 2, my co-angler, he never caught a fish on day 1. He didn't care either. I mean, he wasn't, you know, he caught 2. He wasn't going to get a check. He threw his back. Now, the kicker was this. This was the funny part. And this is a question I love to ask y'all, because I'll be honest with you. I'd like to say I'd always do the right thing. I don't know what the right thing to do here is. Okay? So I get down, and it's like, I think it's like around 2:30. Okay? Now, I have a 4:15 weigh-in, if I get that right, 4:15. It's around 2:30, and I pull up on this spot down by the dam or close to the dam, and I look over and I see a boat, like a big pleasure boat, close to the bank, and I see a bass boat. I mean, feet from it, like 20, 30 feet from it, going down the bank. But the boat's pretty close to shore. And I'm watching it, and the guy kind of looks stuck or maybe in trouble, but there's a bass boat right there, right? And so I'm watching, and the bass boat keeps going, and they're pretty far off, but you can tell they're not asking for help. The guy's in the water. I don't know what's going on. I'm fairly far away. So I'm fishing, and we fish for like 10 or 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, I kind of out of the corner of my eye, I see this waving going on. And I was like, all right. Now it's white capping. It's blowing pretty bad, and it's white capping over there. But, I was like, let's go over here. So I troll motor over there, and I'm not going to go over what happened. It was kind of weird, but they were just like, can you tow us? Or they didn't even ask to tow. It was a weird conversation, because I was like, hey, they weren't exactly very clear on what they wanted me to do, because I was still a little confused on what they wanted me to do, because the other boat had been by them, and they didn't ask them for help, or I don't know what they did, but that boat just kept going. They were real, like I said, just real weird about how they weren't really talking. Like I had to kind of clap my hands like, hey guys, tell me what you want, because they didn't know how to ask me or whatever they wanted. And they were like, can you tow us in? I'm like, yeah. So what do you want me to do? You got a rope, whatever. So I ended up getting them off the rock, and I had to go. I didn't even ask where. So I ended up towing them back. It was like an hour-long tow. During the tournament of the championship. And I did it. So now, my question is this. I don't mind helping someone at all, like all day long, every day. That's not what my question is. What happens? What do you do in a top 10? What if you're in the top 10? What if you're leading that event and that happens, and there's all these other boats around, and they ask you, and you're trying to win an event, and they're not in danger. They're just kind of bored, waiting around. You can call the tow boat. I don't know what you do. I've towed some people in tournaments before, and it's not that long, or I'll try to make it, like get them somewhere quick or something like that. That was a long tow. I'll admit it was a long one. I didn't have a problem with it at the time, because like I said, I wasn't going to weigh in fish. I was fine with it. My question is, In that predicament, what if you were like in the top 10 or trying to make the top 10 for the final day and you're going to lose an hour? And like I said, they weren't in any danger. They were fine. They were just wanting to get off of it. Do you call someone? Do they call? I don't know what you do. That's a tough one. I'm not saying I wouldn't have helped him. I don't know. I could have talked to him and said, hey, I'm in a, maybe that's what went on. Maybe that guy said, I'm in a championship and man, I don't have time. I don't know what went on. But anyways. Y'all good? All right. Sure. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Huh? Oh man, just, I'll need it one day too.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Uh-huh. No problem. So after all that, so that was like 2:30. By the time I got him in and got him to the dock, and it was like 3:30, and I had to weigh in by 4:15. And I'm sitting here, and I looked at my guy, and at that point in time, I looked at him, and I was like, "Hey man, what do you think?" He's like, he kind of looked at me too, because he had to sit there the whole time too while I told this guy in. And we kind of look at each other like, I was like, I'm over it, right? Nothing crazy is going to change. Nothing shows me that I'm all of a sudden going to go catch 20 pounds. I did have a limit, nothing giant. And I was going, yeah, I'm kind of over this tournament. Like I'm done with it. I've got 45 minutes left. I got to drive somewhere and start fishing again. We're going to have 30 minutes to fish. For what? And I was like, or I can get on the road and start getting back home. Because, I mean, it was what it was. And he said, yeah, I'm good too, man. I'm good. So we went in. I dropped him off. He threw his fish back. And then this is me right after, right? This because I loaded somewhere else. Well, I came in a little early to get on the road. Had a little bit better day today. I still did not weigh him in after towing that guy in, which took quite a while, and it just didn't seem like it was my day to go weigh in fish or do anything, but I did catch the limit. Gotta let it go real quick. About that little smallmouth. Little smallmouth. Took a little spot. Nothing spectacular, but like I said, did a little bit better today. That's it, guys. That was Table Rock. It didn't go the way I wanted it to. It's okay. My year was really good. Like I had a phenomenal year this year. It's crazy too because I can have a year where I go win 3 Angler of the Years. And when you do that, you can't have a bad tournament. Like you can't have a tournament like Table Rock at all. You have one tournament like that, I wouldn't win any of those Angler of the Years that I had this year. Just one. So I was really consistent. It just wasn't right one of those days. The second day, if I'd have just caught something like that, I'd have been totally fine. But I had one of those days. And it was just coming at the worst time. I can't complain. I just made 2 top 10s in championships the 2 years before, leading one day. So yeah, it's weird too because like you can have one little weird tournament and everyone's like, oh my gosh, like the sky's falling. The sky's not falling. It's fine. I did a podcast yesterday with Matt Steffen and I was like, hey man, it's crazy. A lot of times when you do really good in tournaments or you have a good year, sometimes you don't learn very much. I'll be honest, I don't learn very much sometimes when I do really good. I learn so much more when I do really bad. And so I think a lot of good things came from this on my end. I'm going right now. I'm going to go start working on a bait, kind of building it from scratch to a degree. I'm doing that literally right now. I had this idea of what I've seen. And yeah, that came all from that event. Might be the best thing that ever happened to me. I'm telling you, like, those events make me, when you catch them on what you're doing, or whatever it is, it's great that you're dialed in and everything's great. But what happens is you're catching them in a way you already know how. When you do bad, for me at least, that's when I go back to the drawing table and I go, okay, wait a minute. What's missing here? Is this bait really this good? Is this technique really this good? Or is it's okay, but could it be better? I think it could be better. I'm really excited. Like, I've been, like, the whole way home, I was really excited to be like, I'm gonna go mess with this. That's where I've come up with a lot of my ideas, a lot of my things. It's never the good tournaments, it's always the bad ones. That's where I come up with almost everything. So, yeah, little piece of advice maybe, the bad events, take them. If you're like me, man, like, really think about them and really try to dive into what's going on. Don't settle for bad events. I'm not settling for that bad event, but it definitely makes me go back and rethink how I'm going to go. Like I said, baits, techniques, all these different things. Figure out where you messed up. You know, there's always something to learn. I learned way more that way. So that's what happened in Table Rock. Yeah, I've got a couple months now where I'm going to go mess around with some stuff, and I'm excited to do that. Yeah, they better be ready for next year, because one more little trick up my sleeve, I'll be ready. So thanks for looking out for me and keeping up, even though I didn't weigh in, and following along. Got some more stuff popping up. So we're going to get right back into a whole bunch of stuff for the fall and the winter. We're going to dive into more podcasts. We're going to have more bait stuff. I'm going to probably get to do a lot more just fun fishing, to where I get to do more stuff like maybe the one rod challenge. I'm thinking about maybe I can even go frog fishing during the next week or two. Might even go tomorrow. Might even get a frog fishing day in right before my last frog fishing day of the year. I might be able to get one in, because it's probably going to get cold and they'll probably stop eating it. But it's kind of warm right now, so I might be able to go. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think I'm going to go frog fishing tomorrow. Go throw a little pop and perch around. Hopefully I can do that. Maybe that'll be my one ride challenge. All right.